started? Contact the Florida SPDC at IRSC.
For confidential one-on-one business consulting at no cost, contact the Florida SPDC at IRSC at 336-6285. Online at irscbiz.com.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Well, welcome back to the second half of the show. I just want to remind everybody this is the last half hour for me this year. I go on hiatus in December, but I'll certainly be right back in January, first Wednesday at 10 a.m. and looking forward to it. But I can't think of a better show and guest to have to close out this year, especially during the holiday season. We just celebrated Thanksgiving and Christmas is coming up. And speaking of the holidays, before we get into Rob Ranieri and House of Hope, I want to remind everybody, Carnival Lights, it's so much fun out there at the Martin County Fairgrounds. It started last weekend. I went out there. Incredible. Jay Spicer and all the elves out there at Martin County Fairgrounds have that really decorated up. And it's really fun for the whole family. Admission is just $10, free if you're 10 and under. Free photos with Santa Claus at Castle Christmas. This is amazing, amazing light show out there. Nativity sets, Nutcracker collection, and there's a Christmas village. And, I think House of Hope has a tree out there, doesn't it, Rob? Yes. So there's just a ton of things to see out there, games, and the model train folks are out there as well. So highly recommend that. It's every weekend, the next, I think, 3 weekends. Friday, Saturday, and Sundays from 5:30 to 9 p.m. I think Santa's out there from 6 to 8, so he's not out there the whole time. But, folks, tons of fun. Make sure you visit that. So in the studio right now, I have Rob Ranieri. He is CEO of House of Hope. It's a nonprofit agency founded in 1984 that provides food, clothing, furniture, financial assistance, information, and referral, life-changing case management services to Martin County residents. Again, I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the half hour here that, we're right in the middle of the holiday season and how important this organization is. And I imagine this is probably your busiest time of the year, huh, Rob?
It's definitely, it feels like it's all a busy time of year the past few years, but yeah, the holidays are exceptionally busy. We see the need and the challenges that a lot of families in the community face, and we just try to find ways to help them take some of that pressure off and help them have a good holiday season with their families.
Rob, what are you seeing this year? Because inflation has absolutely skyrocketed. I know for those of us, not those of us, all of us, you walk into the grocery store and the price of food is astronomically changed. I mean, I walked in the other day, I was shocked. A dozen or 18 eggs was over $6. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happened here? It used to be $2 or $3. And it's not just eggs, it's everything across the board. So what are you seeing here with your organization and the amount of folks here in the county that are looking to you for assistance?
So we're reaching directly now over 7,000 people a month with food, financial assistance, case management. We have 2 enrichment centers where we're doing programs, free programs in health and nutrition, job skills, education, the arts. And now we're in our first year of having a full-time career coordinator that's connecting people to available jobs in the community. And so really in every category that we work in, we're seeing higher numbers than we've seen before. We kind of spiked with COVID and just never came back down. So it was replaced, COVID was replaced with inflation and not just groceries and gas, but the cost of rent is really burdening so many people. $400, $500 a month rent increases is not something that most people could manage. So
no,
that's kind of added to the already difficult circumstances that the community is facing.
There's so many things, Rob. Again, we're speaking with Rob Ranieri. He's CEO of House of Hope, and you can visit them online, hohmartin.org, hohmartin.org. Rob, and it's just not even the rents. I mean, the utilities have went up, insurances went up. It's just, like you said, everything across the board has really hit people hard. And when you're on a budget, every dollar counts. And all of a sudden, rents were 25, 30, 40% higher almost overnight. So I can't imagine, how difficult but it is for folks, especially people with children that have to face these issues and not have the money there to afford that rent.
Well, one of the good benefits of us, probably even with all of our wide range of services, about 70% or so of people come to us because they're facing food insecurity. So our 4 food pantries across the county are geared up to be able to meet the needs of the families we serve. And at today's prices, they're getting well over $400 a month in food support from us, so they can then redirect some of that money they used to spend at the grocery store and put that towards rent or insurance or utilities, like you just described. So that the healthy food that we're providing really has a good ripple effect on the household's economy.
And I imagine, again, I keep going back to children as well, but you can't learn on an empty stomach, and it's so important for them to at least have a good balanced meals when they go to school and when they come home, so that they're learning. Before we get into a little bit more about what House of Hope does and what folks can do to help you out, I wanted to mention that you guys were able to really bring on staff a really good guy from the city of Stuart. He was a previous city commissioner, Mike Meyer. So what's Mike doing out there?
So one of the things we have is we have a production farm out in Palm City, and we had 4 gardens across the county. We get some food, but those were really geared more towards education and community. But about 4 years ago, we got into production farming. The Dawson family, who you may know, Mary used to be a commissioner years ago, they have a little market out on the corner of 714 and Citrus, and they own a bunch of property. And they came to us and said, hey, you're growing some food. You want to really grow some food. So they gave us access to a good chunk of their property. And right now we've got 3 hydroponic greenhouses out there. We've got a grove of about 65 fruit trees. We've got some in-ground growing. And so Mike came aboard to really kind of help us ramp up our capacity there at the farm and really maximize the footprint that we're being gifted to use by the Dawson family, and just get as much good, healthy produce coming off of there every week as we can.
That is a wonderful story. I didn't realize that. I've been to that farmer's market many times. I love it. It's wonderful. But for them to donate some property for you all to farm is absolutely fabulous. And that's what community is about. If you can do, if you have something extra you can help out, certainly you want that help. And, let's talk a little bit about that with your food pantries. What can people do to assist you to help keep those full? Not only now through the season, but throughout the year.
Well, yeah, obviously we're always looking for support, whether it's financial or food donations. They make a big difference. This year, that our fiscal year ended September 30, we did about 1.5 million pounds of food in that fiscal year. About half of it roughly went through our 4 pantries. The other half, we're also a food bank, so we have 35 food partners, a lot of other nonprofits, soup kitchens, church pantries that depend on us for food. So the food certainly gets put to good use however it comes through our doors. We're always looking for volunteers in our pantries as well, actually across our whole system, our farms, our garden, our thrift store, our enrichment programming. We're looking for homework helpers right now actually in our enrichment center. So there's a lot of ways people can help us move the mission forward, not just financial support, but their time and talent as well.
That's good to know. I know for a lot of people, there's nothing like being out there and just having your hands in the soil and working out in the sunshine and fresh air. So you need that kind of help. So it doesn't cost anything, just time, and it's something many folks enjoy to do as well, and you're helping out for the greater cause. You like you said, you distributed a lot of food, millions of pounds of food. $264,000 in financial assistance in 2021. This is really important stuff, and I'm sure that's climbing this year. You have a nice little section on your website, hohmartin.org, and it goes through a lot of questions folks might have. So I wanted to cover those on air today while folks are listening. You covered this one already, but who does House of Hope help?
So Martin County residents that have a financial need can come to any of our locations and get established with us as a client. And then again, like I mentioned, we also reach, in addition to the 7,000 people a month we're reaching directly, Our partner agencies that we're providing food to are reaching about another 5,000 people a month. So
Wow.
it's pretty substantial numbers. And again, it's easy to connect with us. You need to show you're a Martin County resident and you have a need. So pretty simple process to get engaged. And then once you're engaged with us, you have access to everything we provide: food, financial assistance. Case management is really kind of the key to our whole system. We're an empowerment model, so it's easy to give food away. The hard part is getting out root cause and helping people to overcome the obstacles that are making them need our support in the first place. So whether it's education or language barrier or transportation, we try to we try to address those with the individual or family with the goal of moving them forward so they're not depending on us for the long term.
Helping and lifting them up. I see on here too, even prescriptions. I mean, it really is any little part of your life that you might need some help on. And then you determine, I'm sure you have some sort of recommendations or I don't want to call them barriers, but you have criteria for qualifying, and that you'll go over with the folks as they come in. Can they call you guys as well over the phone? And
Yep, they can call on the phone. They can reach us online. They can come in person, whatever works the easiest for them. And then anybody that answers the phone will be able to kind of tell them what they would need to bring with them to make the enrollment process easy.
Okay. I was going to ask you what kind of things they should bring with them if they come into your
Yeah, I mean,
center.
it's a little bit deeper dive if we're providing financial assistance, but for food, just show us you're a Martin County resident. There's a lot of easy pre-qualifiers. So if you're already getting unemployment or disability, things like that, food stamps, then you've already been vetted in other ways, and it's a quick, easy enrollment there. If not, we'll ask a couple of other questions just to validate that you do have a financial need.
Certainly. And you have on here, what kind of food will you provide, and where does that food come from?
So a couple of years ago, when we got into the farm and the gardens, we really, what we learned prior to that was a very common obstacle for households that we deal with is health. Lower income communities in Martin County have higher than normal levels of diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, obesity. So obviously an easy way for us to impact those conditions is in the food we provide. So we really made a conscious decision at that point to be better as far as what we made available. So that that led to us starting to grow our own. So we always knew we'd have fresh produce on hand to help people. Our gardens, we last year saw about 3,000 people with nutrition education opportunities. So we also do cooking classes, nutrition classes in our enrichment centers. So we're finding ways to really provide the food, teach people how to prepare the food, and show them why they should eat the right foods. And so in our pantries, they're set up like little grocery stores. So you'll see the same things you'd see if you go to Publix. We've got canned goods, we've got meats, dairy, produce. We have our little section set up, make it easy for people to come in and shop. If a mom comes in there with her kids, it's just like they went to the store. The kids go pick their cereal or their snack, just like you probably did with your own. Yep. So we try to make it, keep dignity in the process and make it easy for clients to select the things that their household's going to eat, not just hand them a bag and say, take it or leave it.
So again, we're speaking with Rob Ranieri, A House of Hope. If you have a question for Rob, the phone number is 772-220-9788, 220-WSTU. Rob, I remember when you were first appointed CEO, and I'm not going to say the date. I should have looked it up before the show because, it feels like it was just a year or two ago, but I have a feeling it was a little bit further.
About 7.5 years now.
Time flies, I know it does. So how has your tenure been there, and what things have you seen that maybe surprised you and you took on and tackled?
So I think what we've been able to do, House of Hope Forever, you mentioned our start in 1984. So forever, House of Hope has been the largest safety net in Martin County around basic needs: food, clothing, financial assistance. What we've really done in the last 7 years is gotten into that life skills lane, gotten at root cause and not only identified the obstacle or barrier that households are facing, but help them with solutions so that they could improve. So I think that's where we've made huge strides in the last several years, especially being able to provide, counseling for, job skills training, resume writing, connecting people right to open jobs in the community through some of the businesses that partner with us, doing things, again, like, health classes. In our enrichment center, we have English as a second language, smoking cessation. We have really programming from, diaper distributions with our partnership with Healthy Start, all the way through to programs for senior citizens and everything in between. So that's really been the thing that has impacted a lot of the families we serve and helped them to move forward and not need us for the long haul.
And it sounds like you've expanded those services a lot in these last 7 years, so congratulations to you. I know it takes a vision and a drive, and you're the leader of the organization, so everybody goes from your lead. So, being able to tap into these different areas, you talk about it now, but somebody had to think about it first, and they're so important. And, I think the other thing to point out, too, is you're not just handing out, you're helping up, and that's super important. When you're seeing people for assistance, it pretty much sounds like everybody, but I have a feeling you're probably seeing more mothers and children, because right now you see a lot of that, especially with the housing situation where single moms with kids, I mean, a lot of them have been booted out of where they were living. You'll see the story, they're living out of a van right now or what have you. So, what are you seeing right now that needs to be addressed the most with our economy as crazy as it is?
The biggest challenge that people are facing that we're seeing consistently is challenges with housing, and that's across the board. Seniors on fixed incomes are really struggling to be able to stay where they've been forever.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, single-parent households, it's really almost impossible if you're a low-wage earner to find a safe, reasonable place to put your family in Martin County on just one income. So those are kind of the harder issues. After the new year, we're going to be adding a housing coordinator to our team because our case managers spend a lot of time on housing challenges with the families that they support, but it's become, kind of an inordinate amount of time, and it's maybe impeding us from getting to some of the other things that we know we could impact positively with the household. So we're going to bring in a dedicated person, just like we did for workforce support, on housing support, and we think that will help us at least help connect people, create opportunities for them to find a roommate, use some of the relationships we have with landlords to maybe help people get into a safe spot, things of that nature.
That's wonderful. And that you just touched on something that's one of the hottest topics in the city and the county, and that's providing affordable housing. There is a lot of gentrification going on. Folks that have lived here all their life all of a sudden find themselves they can't find affordable housing. So that's a really big issue to tackle. And, it's wonderful that somebody can go to an organization like you, and you're in the beginning area of it, but putting a network together of people that can help and provide affordable housing, and it's going to be huge.
One of the things that's positive, and I know I've seen you at several of the commission meetings, I think both the county commission and the city commission, for the first time, I've been here since 1994, for the first time that I can recall, are actually having the conversations
Right.
about it, acknowledging it's an issue, and starting to seek some solutions. So, we got a lot of work to do in front of us, and I think if we're going to be successful in tackling this problem, it's not just going to be local government. It's going to be all of us. It's going to be businesses, nonprofits, churches. We're all going to have to kind of roll up our sleeves and try to make some things happen for the good of the order. But just the fact, again, that those discussions are finally taking place in public, I think that's a huge first step. Commissioner Campy on the county side has the gavel this year on the commission, and he's announced publicly that housing is going to be one of his priorities for the year. So those are things that are encouraging to organizations like us.
It is. It's something that, like you said, for a while, every once in a while would somebody would talk about it and then it was gone. But it's pretty much every commission meeting it comes up now, I've noticed. So it's a good thing. We'll certainly hopefully get that addressed. And it's not an overnight solution, but you have to start somewhere. Rob, you talked about the food pantries. Where are those?
So we have our biggest pantry is right here in Stewart on the corner of Bonita and Dixie in Golden Gate. And then we're in Jensen Beach, we're in Indiantown, and we're in Hope Sound with our 4 service centers. So those all have pantry service as well as case management support on site.
So knowing Mike a little bit, and you talked about the farming and the gardens and stuff you raised, is there any possibility of ever having an area for chickens? And, I say this because, as you know, they tried to pass an ordinance to allow some chickens because they lay eggs. It's a great source of protein, great source of food. But how neat it would be maybe if there was a spot out in the country where people could have their chickens in one spot, kind of like a community garden, a community hen house. I don't know, that sounds a little crazy, but
No,
is there something to help,
So we're always looking at what can we do next, and especially on the food distribution and food procurement side. So we focused the last couple of years on building up the footprint of the farm. We're up to 65,000 cubic feet now of greenhouse growing space. We are almost ready. I keep saying that. I feel like I've been saying that forever, but we're almost ready to open our packing house out at the farm. We're just building a filtration system for our well water to make sure that the water is, usable on food. So the packing house will not only be a place where we could package and store everything we grow, but also everything we glean. So from January through May, June, when the rains start to come, all the big local commercial farms let us glean. So all the produce that they've left behind, whether it's too small to market or ugly or whatever, it's great stuff. Last year we gleaned about 100,000 pounds of fresh fruits and veggies around the community. So that'll all end up in the packing house. And then we also want it to be a resource for some small local farmers to be able to package their produce for them, and then in turn they can hopefully sell it at a higher value. So it'll be hopefully a good economic boost to local growers. So after we get that rolling, then we'll start looking at other opportunities that we can do in agriculture, because the need's not going away, and having healthy, the right healthy foods available really just has such a huge impact on the success of the households we're serving. We're getting ready. In the new year, we'll launch a produce prescription plan with Cleveland Clinic. So they will literally write a prescription to some of their patients that are lower wage in Martin County and send them to us for the right kinds of fruits and veggies that will impact their condition. We're going to focus on diabetes and pre-diabetic initially, and they'll also go through like an 8-week class where they will learn different things they could do, whether it's diet, exercise, cooking, things like that will help them improve that condition as well. So we're going to launch that, and our farm is a big driver for us to be able to have that program, because we can grow the right things that each season that are going to have a positive impact on those folks. So we're always, so your idea is definitely something we've talked about. Chickens, we've talked about aquaculture and fish. I mean, so there's a lot of things we're sort of kicking around, and we'll pursue some opportunities once we kind of stabilize this next piece of our farm and be able to look forward and see what's next.
Again, this is Rob Ranieri. He's the CEO of House of Hope. And one thing, as Rob's been speaking, I'm sitting here thinking how fortunate we are here in Martin County to have nonprofits such as this. And this is a nonprofit. But your tentacles reach in a lot of different areas, and you're working together with a lot of for-profit and other nonprofit organizations, all for the betterment of people, all to help out. And this is just an amazing organization. It's not just focused in one area. I mean, you really are there to help people in whatever facet of their life. And this takes a lot of work and a lot of funds to make this happen. So who funds the House of Hope?
So we have our biggest financial resource. We have our main thrift store up on US 1, and then we have 2 smaller stores, one inside of our Indiantown location and one inside of our Hope Sound location. So our thrift stores, if you've got old clothing, books, furniture, anything like that, we take all of those kinds of items. The dollars generated in the store are a key driver in our capacity to serve the community. So we had a little bit over $1 million last year in thrift store revenue, which was a big benefit to us. all the big local resources, United Way, Community Foundation in Martin, St. Lucie, the Community Foundation of Palm Beach, Martin, Hope Sound Community Chest. I mean, they're Mariner Sands Charity Week. They're all fantastic supporters. We get a lot of support just from the community in general, local philanthropy, whether it's, $5 or $5,000. Every one of those gifts adds value. So we're very fortunate to have strong community support financially that helps us maintain and grow and do the things we need to for the community.
And what a vision, and how this has evolved over the years since 1984, this House of Hope. So it's absolutely incredible. Do you have any fundraisers coming up, or do you do fundraisers throughout the year where people can come out?
So our next big one is actually going to be in February 18th. It's the first time we're doing this one. It's a Cirque du Soiree, so it's going to be kind of like a gala-type evening with some really interesting entertainment, kind of Cirque du Soleil style.
Yes.
So we'll have acrobats and jugglers and things like that. So it should be a different night, and we're hoping that'll help us raise some of the necessary funds we need. We're going to focus that one on those funds will be geared towards our housing and case management support for the community.
Do you know where that'll be held yet?
Yeah, it'll be at Willoughby.
Oh, it will be. Okay. Mm-hmm. That is going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Definitely.
So it's always fun to plan those things. And always, Rob, you're in need of volunteers. I mean, it sounds like there's just so many things. It could be helping out in a thrift store. It could be helping out in the fields, packaging, processing paperwork. Is pretty much the organization pretty much volunteer? I'm sure you have some, obviously,
tremendously
that are
volunteer-driven, and we always could use more. Last year, we were very fortunate. We had about 800 volunteers. Some of them are repeat, so they follow a schedule and come in every week. Some of them are what we call episodic, so they'll come in a couple of times a year and maybe help us glean a field or replant at our farm. So it all matters whether you can do it once a year or once a week. We can always use the support in all the things that we're doing.
So what time of year do you glean the fields?
So that starts right after the holidays. Usually kicks off in January and then goes through. Last year we got washed out around mid-May. Just started getting too rainy and the fields were too wet. And again, that's a tremendous opportunity for us, and we get literally tons and tons of produce.
It's wonderful that food is not wasted just because it has a little bruise on it or something. So
Yep.
that is really great to hear. And I'm sure high school students, they have to keep track of their volunteer hours. What a great thing for them to do.
And we'll get multi-generation. So we'll have grandkids, parents, and grandparents come out and glean together. It's really cool.
So you just need to go ahead and look that up at House of Hope, hohmartin.org. Rob Ranieri, it's been a real pleasure to have you here in the studio today. And, God bless you and the organization and everybody that's helping you. And what a terrific, and we're fortunate here in Martin County to have this organization, but what a terrific organization.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and happy holidays to you and to all the listeners.
Happy holidays. Definitely. Again, I'll be back the first Wednesday in January. I'll be on hiatus here in December. But, folks, it's been a great year, and I've got a lot of good guests lined up. I'll be putting them out in the next few weeks. You can sign up at my website, thecaseyingram.show.com, and I put out a weekly email blast just to let you know who the guest will be in the studio. So to be sure to tune in. And also, we keep everything on YouTube and on Vimeo. So, and you can go to the YouTube and WSTU as well. All the shows are there. But in the meantime, I wish you all the best of holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I will see you next year, 2023.